Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another exemptisode. Welcome to the exit. We'll be exiting immediately. I would re-record that, but fuck it. We're gonna play some StarCraft. Welcome to the Diamond search, the quest for Diamond, the move up the ladder from the lowest depths of Bronze into the Diamond League. We're going to focus on 4 mechanics and 3 strategic principles, and using only that, we'll achieve victory. That's all we need. Okay, we need a couple other things, but it's mostly all we need. Okay. So we're going to extractor trick the first worker. So now we're 15 out of whatever. We're going to make sure there's no jumping around. Overlord comes right after that pops, and this will be the secondary Overlord. And then we will... Yeah, so now we can build 2 things, send out, and make the rest of these cameras as well. Keep an eye on the probe. Didn't have enough time to make any detours there, so I feel like we're pretty okay at the moment. Always got to keep an eye on the probe. Make sure your spawning pool is on time. That's your first line of defense. Keep an eye on the mini-map for any shenanigans that may be occurring. We're actually going to run across here real quick and then go into the base like that. We didn't really check for triples. Looks like we've got a triple right here. Great. Next up is an Overlord, which we use to keep an eye on the... This is oftentimes the third base. Maybe our next Overlord can check the other potential third base. Now we're going to hold up. Hold up. Just hold up a little bit. Hatchery is going to finish a little after the spawning pool. When that happens, we're going to build 2 queens and 6 lings. 3 pairs. 3 times 2 oftentimes is 6. And these are going to keep us safe against any early bullshit that might occur. We're going to double check to see that there is an expansion, and we're actually just going to come around here. I find that that area of the map usually is a pretty solid place to scout how things are going. This is a bit late. We need a third base. We need an Overlord. Third base, third Overlord, and third Queen all kind of come around at the same time. That's how I remember it. Alright, so the spawning pool should have been over here. Slight misstep. We do have an Overlord on the way, but maybe one more is good. Looks like they're not chasing us, which is fun. We might be able to kill this pylon before the next unit comes out. Could be very bad for them. Looks like it doesn't matter. This is still going to be pretty bad for them. Queens are very good. We just have to wait this thing out. It doesn't have infinite energy. It can only shoot when it has energy. There we go. And now it is a flying paperweight. If you didn't know that, it's not great. But if you do know that, you're good to go. And then we win. Cool. Cool. So that was fun. That was fun. So the thing that I used to win that game, the ability that I have that allowed me to win that game, is wall assessment, which I'm coming to find out is quite useful, especially in the gold and below areas. Wall assessment. As a Zerg player, your opponents deal with your bullshit, and it's terrible. And they don't want you to let you in to the country in which you live, and so they build a wall so that you can't get in. But sometimes they build a shitty wall, and you can get in very easily. So you need to be good at noticing, has my opponent built a shitty wall or a good wall? And that can be a little bit tricky. It can take some experience. It can take some time. But what I suggest doing is that you always make sure your overlord can see the wall and gets an assessment of the wall. The first overlord should get an assessment of the wall. And if it looks like it might be weak, then give it a shot. A good wall should only have one gap in it, and the gap should be very small. The gap in that wall was an entire building's worth. So we measure this by build grid, which is what you see when you try to build a building. Main buildings are 3x3, the normal buildings, and the big buildings are 5x5s, pylons are 2x2s. And that wall had like a 3 or 4 hole gap in it, which is what Zerglings love the most. They love giant, crappy wall to run by and destroy things with. Set my other cameras up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Say my camera's up is still a little on the slow side. We're playing against a Protoss again. Yeah, so I like to form a little bit of a semi-wall there with the pool and the queen. That just kind of helps deal with early bullshit. Put the queen right here. The aggro will draw all the units into this corner. They won't get at your drones unless the opponent's paying attention. Attention is a resource. Remember that. It's a resource that you and your opponent share. Each of you has attention. And you can pull some of their attention away with some of your attention. And the goal with a lot of this stuff is to pull attention away in a way that costs you very little attention, in a way that costs them a lot of attention. So zealots, for example. Running a zealot into a place will cause the opponent to have to pay a lot of attention. But you don't really have to pay attention to a zealot. The zealot just does everything on its own. Microing a zealot usually makes it worse. So you just leave the zealots alone, and they have to pay attention to it. And this is a similar kind of thing, why we build the buildings where we do. If we can get a building over there, it'd be kind of nice. I don't think the creep reaches. All right, speed, pull off gas. Back to drones. Third hatchery. Third overlord. Third queen. Speaking of the wall, just move to this high ground corner. You can't see us unless they build up there. Building a forge. Yeah, we are going to go test their wall building capabilities. Looks like there's a 2-size gap on this wall. In the meantime, we're just injecting third queen and back on gas, and because we want overlord speed. It takes 4 Zerglings to kill a Zealot. I don't think we'll be able to break through before this cannon finishes, but we're going to be very happy to drone up here and just chill. Let's get our economy going. Let's get Roach Warren. A couple of Evos down. Damn it. I don't know why this is so much harder for me than it was before. Okay, so since they invested all that money in defense, what do? We expand. And the extension of expanding, the mini version of expanding, is building drones. Alright, so we don't have to take a 4th base here. But we do want to build some drones. Even out our economy. Spread the creep. Build an overlord. Build some drones. Let's check out what's going on in here. Looks like it's a Stargate. Looks like we didn't have to go too far to find the tech. So we're just going to be building since this is the most likely base to be attacked, I kind of put a little bit more into it. Perfect. 16, 3, and 3. 16, 3, and 3. Let's actually build one of these guys because we might need it. And transfer out. 6 minutes should be our 4th base, so we're just going to get that 4th base up. Whoops, I forgot to take these guys out of the control group. It's good to do that. I'm going to add this in. So they've just let us basically do what you should never do to a Zerg, which is to leave the Zerg alone. It's like feeding gremlins after midnight. It's just something you should not do. Let's get a macro hatch. Another queen building. Queens are great. Get some creep up here. I thought I built more overlords than that. Apparently I did not.
Mineral field depleted.
I'm just gonna poke up here. Whole bunch of zealots. Looks like they're building a big army of zealots and other things. Air units, probably, because they're not going to have the gas. Actually, we'll just leave you here so we can see you from the main camera. This is as close to max out as we're going to get, pretty much. Should probably wait for 2-2 to finish. It's kind of silly to attack right before an upgrade finishes. It's sometimes called an anti-timing.
Mineral field depleted. Mutation complete. Forces are under attack.
So, we saw they were going Stargate, and so I made sure I built a decent enough amount of Phoenixes, Hydras, excuse me, so that if they were building a bunch of big scary air units, I would have enough Hydras to deal with it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens if you leave a Zerg alone. If they had kept that out of range and blocked the ramp, they might have had a shot. And that is all. That is all. Here we are, moving up. A little bit of wall detection. A little building things that shoot up when you see a Stargate. Attack, defend, expand. The biggest thing that won us that game was we expanded when they defended. That's the biggest thing. That sort of wide, broad decision making is what screws most people and what will carry you through the leagues faster than pretty much any other piece of knowledge. Is if they're turtling up, you just expand. You maximize your economy to 3 bases, maybe a little bit more. If you're a Zerg, a little bit more. Never more than 3 if you're a Protoss or Terran. And you just build up a giant army and kill them. Because you can make more stuff on 3 base than they can make on 2 base. When they're on 2 base, they're the ones on the timer. They're the ones that need to make the decisions and act quickly. And if they don't act quickly enough, your economy will consume them. Which is basically what happened that game you just watched. All right, so Overlord is next. And they'll go there, there, there. Okay. Oh, it is 17, 18, 17. Excuse me. I built an extra drone there. Are we going against another Protoss? Random. A Zerg. Right. So Zerg, it's especially important to get this spawning pool placement right. It's going to save you against a lot of rushes in ZVZ. We're going to make a wall here with 2 Evos and a Roach Warren. And as such, we're going to have Roach Warren and our Evos a little bit early against Zerg compared to the other races. And that's because they are very, very scary. We don't want to be the person who built the bad wall and died. Right? That person can very easily be us in a ZVZ. It doesn't take a whole heck of a lot. A lot of early shenanigans can happen in ZVZ. Another reason why we save up this larva. Don't spend that larva. Gotta get ready for the big wave of lings. Back to drones. Pull back. Pull back. Pull back. Exactly 100. Oh, so good. And you go to the third pretty much right away. Oh, that's the other thing we don't do. We don't take our third as early in CVZ as well. Again, there are a lot of early attacks that can mess you up. The other thing we do is, we try to remember to do.
Our forces are under attack.
Put back on gas now. Or we want to get this wall up. Let's make sure this is a wall. Oh, I should test with the drone. Okay. Don't attack it. Inject it. Mechanics are pretty important too. Don't forget those mechanics. Oh my god. Okay, so that was a huge nasty supply block of monstrous proportions. Very much hurt the team. Hold position. Generally, I find that whoops, if you're ever oh boy, this is not good. Okay, so Overlord positioning out in the front to see this coming.
Evolution complete.
The Roach Warren's still alive. I should have built roaches with that larva.
Our forces are under attack. Our forces are under attack.
Ah. So, we didn't have our second queen ready with Transfusus. That was a big part of it. We could have an Overlord in position to scout this sooner, and if we had been aware of the minimap a little bit more, would have been in a good spot. And also making roaches a little bit earlier. You have to be a lot more, there's a lot less passivity in this matchup, which is I think where I made my mistake. Yeah, seeing these links come out, should have seen that. Okay, so this is just a scouting force, that wasn't the attack. Yeah, so we have way more drones. I'm gonna start setting my Overlord over here. I feel like this place always gets checked second. Yeah, they moved right by my Overlord. Wasn't looking at the minimap. I did put my bro there at the right time. But you can see this backup queen is very, very late. I think I could have had about 2 more queens here. So they didn't make enough Banes to just break through. Which maybe that was their mistake. They had enough to do it. If they waited longer, they could have just broken through. Sorry, it's production tab. Now we're building some drones here. The other way you can scout this is by noticing the number of drones at the natural. I think I should make it a bit of a habit to use a Zergling scout to see when this is coming. But yeah, had I roaches and queens, which I was perfectly capable of having this time, I would be okay. I got a little bit too greedy, I think, and a little bit tunnel visioned. One of the hardest things for me is definitely looking at the minimap consistently. So that's something that I need to work on mechanically. But better execution of the build would have had us in a fine spot. What is... Roach Warren has more hit points. I'd rather not lose the Roach Warren, though, in these kind of situations. And should have been building more roaches in general. Cool. And when you lose, at least when you lose, look at your replays. If you want to improve really quickly, we're back to gold 2. If you want to improve really quickly, look at your replays every single game. But, oof, look at that. Had about 100 MMRs on us. We could have gained so many MMRs. All right. Protoss. All right, this is when we do our other cameras. Shit. This should be a little bit late. Also, that wall was late, generally speaking, as soon as you have the creep spread to wall. Micro. You can just go right across now. Oh, that was supposed to be an overlord. It's funny how the tiniest little change can throw you off a bit. Happens to me anyway. Fortunately, it's usually the hatchery that delays this series of actions, so. Bunch of gateways, eh? Okay. Need to get our economy up, so by the time these attacks do hit us, we're ready for them. And part of that is not getting supply blocked. Jack attack. You goof. part of that is getting Overlord speed. And
Metamorphosis complete.
getting the Overlord, the Overlord den. Getting the Overlord speed on time is really valuable.
Metamorphosis complete.
Oh, some adepts. Very bad time to be supply blocked. Good time to spread creep. We do have our little force still available. Looks like they're out on the map waiting for a pickup. Oops. Dark Shrine. And a ton of gates. Okay. So this is an attack where
The hive cluster is under attack.
we're gonna need these guys. Supply blocks are real right now.
Our forces are under attack. The hive cluster is under attack. Evolution complete.
Now, the professional players are very good at dealing with all these different kind of attacks without having a ton of static D, which is great. I'm not. So when I see DTs, I just make some static D. Is it perfectly optimal? No. But it's pretty damn good. One of the things that's important to understand about DTs is, generally speaking, if someone goes DTs, they've invested so much in their tech.
Evolution complete. Mineral
They can't really
field
afford to do anything
depleted.
else. So let's see if they're expanding yet.
Mineral
They are.
field depleted.
All right, let's go
Our
fuck up that
forces
expansion.
are under attack.
Inject. Fourth base. Go. Go, go, go. Okay, so we forgot to get our Evos.
Are under attack. Our forces are under attack.
We just lost our army, so we need to rebuild it quickly.
Mineral field depleted. Our forces are under attack. Our forces are under attack.
Our opponent attacks, we defend.
Unacceptable command. Unacceptable command.
We just have no minerals. We did not properly drum up this base.
Mineral field
So
depleted.
much gas. Just trying to spend all this gas. I decided to back off. I just want to see their army. Whole bunch of gateway units.
Mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted.
Roach Rider is pretty good against gateway units.
Metamorphosis complete. Mineral field depleted.
They're going to expand again? Oh, perfect. We're going to wait for that pylon to finish. And I would kill these rocks, but in case their army's over here,
Mutation.
it'll actually be good for us. Oh, he might have seen me. He might have seen me. They're sending scouting zealots.
Our forces are under attack.
All right, pylon finished. We're going in. We want to hit it before they can cancel it. Roach's in front, Hydra's in back.
Is under
Attack.
attack. Our forces are under attack.
Colossus aren't that great if they don't have support. And we got him. Whew. Actar is requesting we look at the replay of this video. Of this game. Normally I'd be down for that. But I want to keep the games rolling for the Bronze and Diamond series. So we are going to keep them rolling. 188. Whew, that's a new APM high. Since restarting. Improvements are coming. Stand up! Stretch. It is good to do. Stretch this way. And the other arm as well. Yes! Do the stretching. It may seem silly, but it can save your life. Not just your wrists. Your life. It's serious business. Sitting in sugar. Those are the things that are they're gonna kill you. Be careful. Be careful about those two things. We got a rando Calrissian. Just making sure the cameras work. Turns out they do. We don't know what race they are, so there's that. We want to get to this high ground very quickly. And we're looking for triples. No scouting worker yet. Haven't seen any Zerg overlords yet either. Whenever you play a random player, keep in mind that they got to wherever you are. But they play 3 times as much to get to where you are. And so as a result, most of the time, they're not going to get to the late game. Which sounds unintuitive, but because they have so much more to learn, generally speaking, random players will focus on the beginning parts of the game to even out the load. So instead of learning 3 phases of 3 matchups, or 3 phases, yeah, 3 phases of 3 matchups, they're going to learn 1 phase from 9 matchups. So it ends up being about the same. It is an overlord. They're tagged onto us, which means they're going to probably try to kill us with the queens, which is fine. It also means we can be a little bit more... Actually, we're going to go tag onto them. Huh. Take that.
Our forces are under attack.
Having the queen exact this position, hugged up against these 2 things, is very important. We're just going to have them do something while they're out there. We're going to run in here, build our wall. Ooh, this is tough. sometimes you can put a spine in the wall.
Are under attack. Metamorphosis.
Oh my god, that just made a ton of links. Oh boy. Oh, we didn't put it back on gas, did we? You stay. We're gonna go see if weak one's in the back. Let's see what the hell they're up to.
Our forces are under attack.
Chase me back to my wall. We really want Overlord speed now.
Our forces are under attack.
They built a ton of links. And they sacrificed their first base of economy to do it. So we're going to get up to a really nice 2 base economy. Probably go make an attack. But first we're going to try to get some information. This information is great. So there was a debate for a while about whether you should spread creep in ZVZ or not. And I think the general consensus at the moment is if it's verse mutas, you want to spread the creep. Did I not get Overlord speed? I did. Okay.
Mineral field depleted. Our forces are under attack.
But I think, especially at the lower levels, it's pretty much always good to have creep.
Mineral field.
Okay, awesome. So it looks like they're
depleted.
going for a ground game because they're getting ground upgrade buildings. Just being able to see what's going on is so advantageous. Yes, both of you and your opponent get the
Mutation complete. Mineral field depleted.
We're avoiding the known overlord location. Remember that Zergs are almost always choosing between building drones and building overlords. So surprise is especially useful
Are under attack.
in a ZVZ. And roaches are especially good at killing Zerglings.
Are under attack.
Now this force is going to fight on its own, but it's good to make sure that we cut off that group of units. Because Zergling counterattacks can be very good. Our opponent somehow lost track of what race they were. That's an interesting thing. All right, so we used some scouting information. Our opponent attacked, we defended. Our opponent defended, we expanded. And the slight difference there, and I've done it a couple of games now, is if your opponent hasn't expanded for a certain amount of time, then they've decided to do almost nothing. And if you're on 3 base, they're on 2 base, you get close to maxed out, that's a timing window of opportunity, especially as Zerg, for you to go and attack them if you have a big army. Continuing on with the I forgot what race I was excuse, which is weird. There's no need to make excuses. You made too many links and they weren't able to win the day. It was a failed all-in. That's what occurred. That's what occurred there. ZVC is easy, but I kept thinking I was Terran while staring at overlords and creep. Okay. The lengthy excuses was interesting. Very unnecessary. Don't spend your time making excuses. Spend your time figuring out what you could have done better. And sometimes those seem like the same thing, but they're not. They're not the same thing. Figure out what you could have done better and focus on that. Because ultimately, you can blame the world and you can ask the world to change, or you can change yourself so that you're adaptable in the world. You can ask everything to coat the walls with foam padding so nothing is hard or pokey or sharp or difficult. Or you can grow scales and armor to protect you from the pokey things of the world. One of them is a little bit more consistent than the other in terms of results. Okay. Okay, so this overlord was late. We ended up building 3 drones instead of 2. Getting a little philosophical. Mentality is important too. We're focusing on mechanics. We're just going to go an extra drone and everything. We're focusing on mechanics here and the broad strategy, decision-making stuff. But mentality is also a pretty big part of what's going to help you be successful, learning from your mistakes. And you can learn how to have a good mentality very early on. It's not very difficult from a learning perspective. Oh, this overlord's super early. It's supposed to be drone sent to gas, then overlord. Is that centered? Okay, that's centered. Okay, so now we're back to the build. These should finish approximately the same time. Generally speaking, the pool will finish a little afterwards. Okay. Low ground, no wall. We're gonna go 10 links. See if we can make something happen. And back to drones. So no big commitment there. Just seeing that they're building on the low ground. We sacrificed 2 of our workers, 2 of our links.
Our forces are under attack.
We delay a little bit of mining time. Not the best in the world, but not awful either. Don't know why I switched positions with those queens. Do need to get to the third base. We spent a little bit too much attention on this attack. Hopefully we soaked up some of theirs as well. Made it a little bit more difficult for them to get on our tech. We're actually on time for our tech, but I don't think we were droning appropriately during that micro. So we will be a little bit off.
Metamorphosis complete. Metamorphosis complete.
Layer. Okay, we now have Overlord speed, so we're just going to go through and see what they're up to. Hopefully not die. Start getting our upgrades.
Our forces are under attack.
Tanks and Marines with no third on the way. That was an error. Really should be droning that right now.
Evolution complete.
And especially spreading creep. So these attacks will be very weak if I can use the creep to my advantage. They can be very strong if I cannot.
Unacceptable command.
Get this Overlord in place over here in case there's a drop that exits in this direction.
Mutation. Our forces are under
Okay,
attack.
here comes the attack.
Mutation. Metamorphosis complete. Unacceptable command.
I come for the third.
Unacceptable command. The hive cluster is under attack.
We're gonna make a small attacking force. I'm gonna go attack them.
Mineral field depleted.
Meantime, we are gonna take our 4th base. Continue to spread creep.
Unacceptable command.
Looks like they took their whole army back.
Field. Our forces are under attack.
All right. We scouted. We saw that our opponent was gearing up for an attack. We switched to units, and we did so, I think, just in time. Tried to get an angle on the tanks, and we eventually ended up attacking from 2 sides. So this is kind of a really lazy way to do a surround, with very broad motions. So what we do is we're going to send our forces over here, right? So we saw the attack path is going this way, and the Reaper is going to appear early because they're using F2. Good for you, bad for them. The Reaper is going to appear over here. So because that happened, we're able to tell, okay, they're going for the 3rd. And generally speaking, your most recent expansion is the most vulnerable. That's the one that's going to be attacked. So prepared some forces and sent out this way. I thought we had to go up here to get around, but there's a path right here. So knowing the map's useful. But then the other thing is I'm rallying in units. I'm building units in chunks as well. And I know that my rallied units are going to come through this corridor. So I sent my main force up through this corridor. And just spamming attack move and building reinforcements created like the lazy man surround. Ladies and gentlemen, the lazy men surround. Should this roach be here yet? Not really. But I mean, look at all the bio. It's not protecting the tanks. It takes 3 corrosive biles to kill a tank. I missed that first one just barely. But as you can see, I wanted to see what happened in the bottom. I was paying a little bit too much attention to the top while that was happening. Attack comes up here. Basically get 4 roaches to come in here. Drawing the fire of this tank, fighting it on their own. Nice. Cool. So we can see the supplies after this fight. I wasn't sure if they were going to try to loop around for some harass, so I didn't send all my units across. They seem to have a bigger army than this when they were done. I thought they had more units, but they didn't. So yeah, cool. And that's it. So through this hour, we made our way up to gold 1. Went down to gold 2 for a second again because we made some mistakes and lost to ZVZ. It's tough. You can't win them all. But a lot of improvements happening. What did I get for APM that game? 163. Yeah, so I'm starting to a little more consistently hit over 150 average, which is quite nice. Small note before we wrap this up about APM. If you try to make your APM go up, you're not going to get any better. Making your APM go up does not make you better. That's really important to understand. It's a metric that goes in one direction. You can't choose to improve your APM and then bam, you're better, right? If your APM is going up and you're not paying attention to it, that's a sign that your mechanics are getting better. You're starting to play faster. But that's the result of knowing what to do next. It's a result of looking in the right places at the right time and queuing up tasks and being able to go from one task to the next very quickly. That's what that's about. So be careful for spamming like crazy and just pressing your control groups over and over and over and over again. Like, make sure that you're doing actions that actually serve you. Don't worry about getting the APM high. Worry about doing the right actions. And just like we practiced when we were doing the mechanics, doing the right thing is more important than doing the wrong thing quickly, right? Or the okay thing quickly. Just do the right thing to the best of your ability, nice and slow, think about it. And over time, through repetition, you will get faster. That is all for today. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out. We'll see you next time.